So, question for Sunday. I'm curious about who we are energetically. If I'm not this narrative, am I sensing being with all the human, land, others than human? If I'm sensitive, how to relax into this? I am curious about who we are energetically. If I'm not this narrative, am I sensing being with all humans, lands, others? If I'm sensitive, how do I relax into this? Yeah, so what happens when there's the shift happening, which can be a gradual thing or can be a spontaneous thing that happens in an experience, but it can be gradual so you don't really see it happening, is that you begin to stop experiencing things through the filter of the person. So that begins to go more in the background as a functioning. So your character actually outside looks the same, because that's the way it happens. But internally, the experience is that everything is coming from infinite space, from beingness. You could call it consciousness or aliveness or presence or I amness. So the feeling is everything's coming from that. And then if your mind isn't dividing this moment, then everything that's in experiencing is coming from presence and is who you are. So when you're in front of other humans, other entities, whatever is happening, then that is who you are. And that is very intense, especially if you're very empathetic on the human level. So you have to listen very carefully to what presence wants, rather than the person that's moving in time. Because the person moving in time will have all types of reactions in its stories. But if you move from presence, the presence, is the perfect navigator for this. So, if you're in front of somebody that's immensely suffering, there could be all different types of responses from presence, from aliveness. So all different types of responses. And it's maintaining that, like staying in that rather than going into the character and what you know. Sometimes you need to go into the character and what you know. That's not always seeking, but sometimes you might find old seeking patterns arise. So for example, if we talk about me, my character, my old seeking patterns particularly come up around empathy for other people, and if my boundaries are crossed, the response that I will have. I don't know if that's old seeking patterns or old ways of being or habits, but it will pull me out. And it's not exactly pull me out of presence, but it will, move me into a game which isn't what presence wants. So, if I see someone suffering, presence might be moving away from that suffering. Whereas my old seeking Lisa might be, I have to help that person. So it's really becoming confident in presence and allowing presence to speak. Stillness speaks. Who's that? That's Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. Stillness speaks. So it's really, and that might be, big adjustments. I don't know what that is, but for me, that's like adjustments that I've been going over the last years. Well, or sometimes I call it like the character catching up. Old habits of the character or seeking patterns. And then the character also has its habits. So when I say presence acts, it always acts through the habit of the person as well. Yeah, it's confusing, the detail of it. Yeah, please know that I'm trying my best, or presence. This is trying its best to speak about this in the most clear way, but presence is speaking through the conditions of Lisa in a way. So, in the end, you've got to find what works for you and what resonates with you. So I'm trying to point to something, and it's not the truth what I'm saying, but it's trying to point to something for you to then go in and discover it for yourself. I'm not trying to give you a new dogma. Yeah. Maybe somebody that's a sensitive person is somebody that's really open to presence already. But you could also be speaking about the body on the bodily level. And if the body is very sensitive, then I think if you become very present and listen to presence, to this moment, I think you'll find the right way to act. Not listening to the seeking patterns, but listening to what's still and present now in this moment. Yeah, what wants to emerge from this moment. I mean, it's a very dangerous teaching, I can see that, because I know for myself there's been lots of confusion around that, like picking up other people's wants and desires. Feeling love for people and then, like that, getting confused. There really is a constant exploration. And it's really something you've got to find out for yourself. Yeah, thank you so much for your question.